first presenter update will be Katie Goff from Water Office. Katie, are you on? I'm not hearing Katie, but I do see her in the participants. Let's see.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, awesome. Sorry, I had my wrong microphone on. So yeah, thanks Dave for starting us off. So I know a lot of us state agencies are excited to be here today. So yeah, I will start us off. My name is Katie Goff with the Kansas Water Office. So I am our dedicated GIS coordinator. So we do have 2 other staff members in our agency that have access to and experience with GIS, and they really just help out as needed. Their focus is mostly elsewhere, so I am our point person for all things GIS. If you're not familiar with the Kansas Water Office, we're a really small agency. So we only have about 17 staff members. And that includes everyone from our administrative assistant all the way up to our director level position. So very small, but we do have a lot of great projects going on. So we do have about 10 public facing applications. So we're mostly an ESRI agency. And so we're really looking forward to continuing and publishing more public facing applications. So if you scroll down, yep. We do have quite a few products that we've really tried to utilize the Kansas Geo Portal Hub. So if you're not using that, that's a great place for all things data. So we're really thankful that that exists. And we've been trying to utilize that as much as we can. So our biggest product that we've released in the last year is our State Water Plan Fund Hub and Insights page. So this really helps us track all of our financial data that's related to any State Water Plan Fund projects within the state. So we've had a lot of good feedback with that. So we're excited to have that to keep growing. Another big one that we have is our Climate and Drought Hub. And so the Kansas Water Office is the drought state agency for Kansas. So that hub really just helps us accumulate data from across the state and different state agencies and different federal agencies. And is really just kind of the first stop for Kansas drought. We do have quite a few 3D reservoir storage capacity maps. So 3D has been helpful for us in really communicating some of our more complicated reservoir data. So we're excited to keep growing that as well. And then another big one that we have is our stream bank stabilization interactive web map and our story map. So another big project that goes on across the state that we really try to help keep information going as updated as we can. And so in the picture to the right, that's one of our other interactive maps. So we try to keep some of our federal reservoir data out there as well. Some of our biggest major initiatives is, like I said, keep growing our public facing tools and interactive products. Interactive stuff really has been hitting well for us with the public. So I think we're excited to see where that leads us. And then also just getting to know other GIS folks across the state, especially other partner agencies. I think this is a really great group of folks that we really want to keep contact open with those folks. So that's really all I have. If we want to pass it over to Department of Labor.
All right, I think that's Sherri.
Yeah. Hi, so I'm Sherri Chaturvedi with the Department of Labor. I'm in the IT division here as part of the reporting and analytics team. So I am the main GIS person here. There is one other person in our labor market division who does like the static unemployment maps and a few other things, although some of that is getting transferred to me. We have kind of a limited scope right now, but we're growing. We've had GIS here at KDOL for about a year. We did recently publish our first online web application, which shows the largest industry in every county. And I can share a link for that in the chat for where you can find that. But it's just a fun little way to go and see like, oh, what is the largest industry in my county and how does it compare to other counties around me throughout the state? And you can scroll down. We are also working on a second publicly available interactive map that I'm real excited about. There's a few hiccups right now and we're trying to figure some stuff out, but hopefully sometime this summer it will be published, and that will be able to allow people to go and see what are the highest paying occupations in every county and how do those wages compare across the state. So you can see, if you're a registered nurse at an entry level, how does that pay in Rooks County compared to, Phillips County next door or something like that. And then also, so we'll have entry and median and experienced and ways to just lots of different ways to kind of interact with that data and figure out like what your pay is. And so I'm real excited about that one and hope to have that up soon. I'm also working a lot on several in-house applications for our administration to use for ways to track how unemployment's getting paid out every week and to be able to compare that over the month and the quarter and the year. So just a lot of, labor data trends and things like that. And we're also, I think you can scroll down, working on some projects with the appeals team for how do, when people are appealing their unemployment decision, how do we compare across the nation? So just lots of different data like that we're working on creating dashboards and such for. We hope to eventually create a data sharing partnership with Desk on their hub site. And we've also got an amusement park ride permitting program that I'm helping with, and hopefully that's going to get that software hopefully will get purchased soon. So that's coming right along. But anyway, so there's a lot going on at KDOL, and we're real excited about it. And if ever I get this wage comparison map, you can even compare at least 3 counties of cartographer salaries. So that would be exciting. But anyways, that's all I've got. So we can pass it on to KDM.
Thanks, Sherri. I will pass it back over to Katie Goff, who will stand in for KDM's updates.
Yeah, so unfortunately, we didn't have anybody from Department of Emergency Management join us today. So that's because they currently have 3 open positions within their GIS section. So if you know anyone who's looking for a GIS position, that would be a great place to start looking for. So I'll just breeze through theirs. And so KDM is quite a large agency, so they have approximately 60 folks over there, 10 of who use Survey 123 and several other web map editors. But I do know a lot of their staff consume dashboards and other web applications. So they currently have 60 users within their ArcGIS Online community. They do have a public ArcGIS Online hub endpoint. And then they do have one GIS response vehicle that looks pretty cool. I know there's a picture, if you scroll a little bit down, it looks like it has quite the setup inside. So some of their projects that they've got going on, I know there's the Kansas situation report. And so a huge shout out to KDM for this. They actually won Esri's Special Achievement in GIS Award for this report last year. So it's a really cool piece if you have time to check it out. So it brings together a bunch of different data from other agencies, especially when it comes to emergency management, weather, and it provides up-to-date and accurate information for situational awareness, preparedness, and response across Kansas. So it is available through their GIS hub site. They also have their Kansas Hazard Mitigation Grant Program projects dashboard. So that really just tells the story of where mitigation grant funding has been dispersed across the state. They have their flood monitor, which is another great dashboard that provides current flood and rainfall information. And then they do have a ton of internal projects and products, especially dashboards and web applications that they use with their county emergency management group. And I know that those folks really find those handy, so I'm glad that they're able to provide those for their staff. And so I think there's one more piece. Yep. So some of their major initiatives. So I do know they wanted to implement ArcGIS Hub Premium for building and managing some of their initiatives with their county emergency managers. And then they also wanted to learn how to leverage and integrate Microsoft 365 tools with ArcGIS online products and services, and extend the use of their Survey 123 and basic web map data editing. So that's it for KDEM.
Thank you, Katie and KDEM. Let's see, KDHE, do we have Nolita and or Amy Rout?
You have both of us, but Nolita has battling her first summer cold of the season. So I'm going to be the voice, and she's going to jump on chat and correct me when I forget to say things. So we're going to work together. Yeah, KDHE, two of us here, Nolita, LaVoie, and myself, Amy Roust. We are technically part of the Office of Information Technology Services under the Database Administration team. So we're both, like, our job titles are DBAs, but we're really just stealth GIS people. Very large agency, 1,000+ personnel, with some really different bureaus. We are one of the few states that combine their environmental and their health departments into one umbrella, which makes a lot of sense if you ask me, because we know that your health can be impacted by the environment in many, many ways, as partially evidenced by this screenshot of our environmental public health tracking application. So that makes us a little unique. We've definitely got a lot of folks, estimating about 125 ArcGIS GIS desktop users. Trying to get them all onto Pro is like herding cats. Some are more willing than others. I think now probably are getting close to 200 ArcGIS Online users, in large part because of the popularity of Survey 123. We have a lot of users for that, and are slowly starting to grow our story maps and other offerings beyond what Nolita and I build for them. We have ArcGIS Enterprise. We've got an internal portal, 5 servers, 2 internal, 3 external. We're running about 300 services right now, running off of SQL and Oracle databases. So pretty big deployment of data out there. And we do definitely like to share that with the DASK hub. So we try to get that shared out as much as we can so you can get that data and have a reliable one-stop shop for that. We've also got about 30 internal web map viewers that are used to support various workflows, and about 20 public-facing applications, dashboards, things like that. I mentioned our Data Explorer, which is this deal here in the middle. That's one of our big ones. In terms of products, like I said, most of those are shared through the GeoPortal Hub, through DASK. Probably our 2 biggest sites are going to be that Kansas Environmental Interest Finder, which is what you see now on the screen. So this is a nice aggregation of environmental data sets with lots and lots of links to more and more reports. So if you're looking for any kind of environmental data, this is definitely your starting point to look for that information. Environmental public health tracking, we've already talked about that. Kansas Information for Communities, that's another portal that comes through our vital statistics. So we're the ones that hold your birth records, your death records, and everything in between. So we're looking at some enhancements to that. And we do have a publicly available REST endpoint. So if you are looking to have a live connection to our data, reach out to myself or Nolita, and we'd be happy to discuss what the best option is for you. So last part, in terms of major initiatives, definitely growing ArcGIS Online quite a bit. Like I mentioned earlier with Survey 123, but we get a lot of requests for dashboards. Dashboards are super popular. Have to embed most things on our KDHE website, so you don't have to link out and go to a different web page. They let our communications folks likes everything all tidy and together. I have definitely identified a need for our own centralized data page for public access. We've got kind of a legacy one, and then there were some plans prior to the pandemic, and you know what happened to any plan prior to the pandemic, it didn't get done, to do something bigger. So we've kicked around some ideas about having our own hub site that would link off to Dask as well. So that's something we're looking at. And you might say Tableau is, we have a love-hate relationship with them. Our health folks really love that product. So we're trying to learn how to leverage that and also help people understand what a Tableau map can do versus what an ArcGIS map can do, and make sure that they're using the right project for each task. So lots of stuff going on at KDHE. We're happy to share. We want you to know what we've got, and that'll do it for us.
All right, thank you, Amy and Nolita. Hope you feel better. Let's move over to Dask. I'll take care of that. Dask, if you recall from last year we did this, we had 9 employees and now we have 10. So we have, we're growing our family, but it's really like a half of a family member because she's always been associated with Dask. So Sherri Massey joined Dask recently, and you'll hear more about her update and when Eileen covers the NG911 portion of today's story map webinar. We have a core mission that really is efforted through the coordination, outreach, data processing, and application development of a variety of different initiatives, some of which are here, the Kansas NG911 and the State of Kansas EA agreement, which is the renewal process is going on right now if you're an agency stakeholder. All the other, these and all the other initiatives can be found on the Kansas GeoPortal Hub. We have a separate initiative page that kind of details and links out to a lot of all the different initiatives that Dask has been associated with over the years. We host 292 services on multiple on-prem AGS servers. That's about 16 that we have, and that also includes Oracle SDE and SQL Server. ArcGIS Online-wise, we have 47 different hosted services. Those are feature layers. Those are web maps and applications, including the hub. And then what do? We develop and host and maintain numerous applications and portals for state agencies. So it's not just an internal processes that we do for Dask. We do help others out there to do different things GIS related. That includes the NG911 Coordinating Council web portal. Again, update to come with Eileen's presentation in a bit. The Open Records for Kansas Appraisals ORCA application, and then the associated ORCA for portal, PORCA. We've had the Kansas Water Use Reporting System and KDA DWR Baseflood Elevation Portal, and lots of other stuff that you can also find on the Kansas Hub. So May of last year, we launched the Kansas GeoPortal Hub. This is a theme that's going to keep coming back. It's not going away. We're going to keep growing this thing. Going to keep encouraging people to contribute and share content from the masses to the public, to everyone else who wants to use geospatial data that's open and public within Kansas and beyond. So to date, since May of last year, we have about 351 total items that have been shared from 13 different agencies and partnering organizations to the Kansas GeoPortal Hub. Really just a snapshot of what that includes as 2 dashboards, 159 different feature services, a variety of different topics associated with those feature services, and each one of those can be downloaded in a variety of different ways. It's great, it's flexible. It's a much needed enhancement and improvement over how we used to do it. So it's very flexible. We have a geocoding service that's published on there. We have 2 story maps. We have image services. We have map applications, a large cache of maps and map services, and some mobile map packages from the Biological Survey. Another product that we use, we supply and publish that's also on the Kansas GeoPortal Hub on the community page is the quarterly Dask newsletter. We release that every couple of months, and it really just shows a snapshot of different updates that we have efforted. This past update shows what we've been doing with creating the 2-foot contours for Department of Agriculture, an update on the EA license renewal, and excuse me, and maybe even an update on the state plan coordinating system. We have some upcoming events as well as some prior stuff that we just do on a biannual process. We just had the EA stakeholders meeting. We have a user group meeting that happens twice a year. And then the next one that we have up is around August 8th, and that's called Coffee and Code. So if you're a programmer, if you're a developer, bring your virtual coffee or whatever you want to do, and we'll talk shop about programming and cool, nerdy tech stuff. Our major initiatives are storage and architecture. We're currently moving from on-prem and ArcGIS Online to Azure Cloud. This is going to be a multi-year process. It's a huge undertaking internally and external to DASK associated with KUIT. It's a big monster. We have a lot of meetings to do with it. We have lots of data, 150 terabytes and growing. That number never goes down. It's always going to go up. We already talked about the GeoPortal Hub, so I'll stop there and turn it over to, I think, KDOT. Is that James Stewart?
That is. Good afternoon, everybody. Good to see you. And of course, thanks for clearing out room for this. I think this is a very nice opportunity to kind of talk about all the various things that are going on here. I will probably have to kind of skip over a couple things just because I have a pretty lengthy, amount of updates otherwise. But anyway, kind of a little review of who we are. Of course, we're a very large state agency, about 2,200 total people spread around divisions and bureaus in Topeka and out, of course, distributed around the state in our divisions and areas, or area offices. We have about 100 potential, ArcGIS desktop users available or licenses. Not to say we have people using that many desktop licenses on any given time. We of course also have a pretty large ArcGIS Online organization. I'll talk a little bit more about that further down. But the GIS section itself, we are not part of IT here specifically. We're part of the Division of Planning and Development. And we do most of the GIS for the agency. There are a few other distributed staff members in other departments doing some, some reporting work mostly, or some other, really, not necessarily data related maintenance out in the field. So our group here is about 11 full-time staff members. We do have one part-time intern right now, and we're in the middle of hiring another new position. As of tomorrow, we'll have those interviews. We also do get direct support from our IT group, though. So while we're not part of IT, they've, basically provisioned, 4 staff members plus, plus their supervisor in that section to help us out with IT related, issues and kind of keep, an ear on all of, what we're doing here. So we don't have to, generally, engage them separately. They're there in our daily meetings. They're just really, part of our group. So let's see. So we are an Esri ArcGIS Roads and Highways shop, which is, of course, not your standard version of ArcGIS. We're in the middle of moving over to ArcGIS Pro Roads and Highways. Those are linear referencing systems. And let's see, we have in our enterprise, lots of different portals and servers. I won't necessarily repeat the information there, but of course it takes quite a bit to keep everything we have up and running. We also have a very robust ArcGIS Online site of our own called CanPlan. That has a lot of public offerings out there, a lot of things you may have seen before, including, city maps, really, a ton of visibility to all of the layers we maintain as well through web maps there. And like I say, I'll actually in the next section jump right over and keep talking a little bit more about that. So CanPlan again is essentially ArcGIS Online. So you can find maps there, including, the state highway system, which is primarily what, we're busy maintaining. plus local road data, which we largely get from the folks at NG911, railroads, reference post markers are a very commonly visited, layer or web map on our site. Where we're working on projects and, really a very large et cetera here. I'd encourage you to look around on our site at some point. And FYI, just preparing for this meeting, I did note there appear to be some issues just kind of navigating to, cleanly to the Can Plan site from our webpage. So I'm going to look into that after this session and try to get a little, better linking to that site. We also do there have the official maps for counties and cities. These can be printed, or they're also, of course, available as web maps or interactive web maps there. And that's, essentially showing the most recent information we have for the roads and city boundaries at any time for, cities, as well as, of course, for the counties. Can Drive may be something a lot of you are familiar with. That's effectively the 511 related site showing anything going on the roadway that may impact travel, construction, weather related issues, and so on. I just did want to make note here as well that Can Drive is now a mobile app for both iOS and Android. So I'd encourage anybody out there, go ahead and download that, install it, especially if you're a daily commuter on the state highway system, or, perhaps planning a vacation. Just good to know where there are issues out on the road. Of course, we do also produce state bicycle map, the state railroad map, state transportation map, which we just released. You might see that out in the wild at visitor centers, gas stations, and so on. If you would like a copy and don't know where to get to that, I did verify through our main website. You can get to that and request a copy, be sent to you. Or, we sometimes have schools and so on ask for those. So a good way to get a hold of that if you want one. And of course, some of us still keep, maps in our glove compartments. So for that time, we may not have a good network connection at least. So, all right. So I'll get into some of our major initiatives from here. So I did reference already, we're in the middle of a very large migration to ARC Pro roads and highways. And just to be clear, we're not talking about, getting used to the new ARC Pro desktop software. Most of us are already using that. This is a back-end migration, moving the database and, effectively moving over to their new roads and highways tools, which is a heavy lift. And it's taking a lot of our staff's time within this division and, some of our IT as well. Also using a lot of our, basically points with Esri that we've procured. So to get their technical assistance with that. We are right in the middle also of finalizing requirements for another mobile or terrestrial LiDAR run across the state. This would cover all of the state highway system, which is we call the I's, U's, and K's, interstates, US highways, and Kansas highways. We are also adding a little bit more to it this time, both in terms of what we are going to extract for GIS data, but also the collection area. So while again, the focus is the state highway system, our vendor will be driving essentially down all connecting non-state roads for a short distance, more or less, so they can drive back towards the highway system and collect the signage, which is typically ours in those locations. So that will help us get a better sign inventory, something we did not have, a full grasp on in our 2021 collection. Okay, so let's see, again, we are adding a ton more GIS data extracts to what we pulled a couple of years ago. So at this point, I think we're up to some 20 layers we're looking to extract. We have not finalized all this, so some of this may need to be pulled back just to, budget restrictions. But again, that'll be a big thing. I expect by the end of the year, we should have data available really to the public. And there I'm referring to actual GIS data extracts you can download and use however you like for a lot of these layers. So of course, we're every 10 years, we need to make changes to our urban area boundaries after the census. So that will be a big thing going on here for probably about a year. It's a fairly complex process to arrive at the urbanized areas, which are not strictly urban rural. So let's see, we're still trying to retire our Kansas system. So we have that down to pretty much a minimal maintenance process right now, just only key layers that are needed for some other system interfaces until those are replaced. So we're trying to, of course, maintain as much as what we can in our new system, which is K-Hub, and kind of phase out this Kansas system within probably 2 years is the goal. As I think folks here at DASC are aware, we're constantly working with them and others to improve crash data location and other, really other data about that. We have some serious issues that really start at the source level with how crashes are reported, since they're not placed on a map using reliable, data. They're generally reported by paper form and described by the officer as opposed to placed on a map. So that creates quite a few challenges we're always trying to resolve there to get the best information we can about where crashes are occurring. Obviously that helps a lot with the analysis that is needed. We just wrapped up our annual reporting for HPMS. That's the FHWA's Highway Performance Monitoring System. That's an annual update. And that was complete as of last week this time. So let's see, also wrapping up our state bicycle map for the biannual period. Again, that should be out pretty soon. Working with the folks here at DASC and some others as well to streamline and improve processes related to updates to city boundaries primarily, but also just largely all administrative boundaries. So that data committee there is something we actually reported on in last year's CAM conference, and I expect we'll do that again, providing a more detailed update at that time. Also within the agency, it's probably a little hard to understand for smaller agencies, but of course, being such a large agency, we do have, a lot of disconnects. People, imagine this, we have, other divisions, probably doing, or we find sometimes that they're essentially doing mapping without GIS. And so we're expanding our efforts there to, first of all, identify where this is happening, but also, provide more direct assistance, and staffing to actually be able to support the necessary initiatives, often to get them moved over from a spreadsheet in Google Maps to actually using GIS data, particularly our GIS data wherever possible. That reduces some issues we have where people come to us and say, I have all these lat longs. Can you tell me X about the related roadways? And of course, then you have to conflate the data. Number one, place it along the roadway and then get them what they need. So again, all of this is just, kind of constantly herd the cats and keep people from going rogue in separate parts of the agency doing their own mapping or GIS data without the proper tools. Again, we're also trying to improve our tools and methods of tracking our own projects internally, implementing really a data governance initiative across the agency that will help tie together a lot of these things I was talking about. Where again, a division may be tempted to go just get what they need on something and not really coordinate with others. So again, we really feel that a central data governance model is necessary to make things work better here within KDOT, following the example of many other DOTs around the state, and some of the recommendations they've provided to us. So we're starting to see some movement again on that. It was quiet for over a year, and it really creates a challenge when we do try to coordinate things between divisions, not having that. Again, kind of looking over some possible updates to our CAN plan site to redesign, enhance that, make it a little more modern. We've increased our staffing in that area too, and hoping to, kind of free up some time there to make improvements instead of just kind of, treading water there. So also looking to prepare for what should be going on annually, a local consult meeting at this point. So basically we set these up across the state, various areas to, to gather input from the public about potential future projects. So there's, some work we're doing to prepare for this year's instance, and also looking to kind of make that a little bit more an automated process going forward, like creating the right tools and data to to support that effort. We will be expanding some of the attributes we track on our non-state roads, because, even though we don't, we're not technically responsible for maintaining roads off the state system, more and more the FHWA requires us to report on information on those roads. So, we've worked a little with DASK there, to see what we can do on that side, but also, some types of attributes are just not likely to come through NG 911. So we're looking for other ways to deal with that, including, detecting a surface type using aerial imagery, which is something, we feel is probably the best approach to modernizing and updating that data that will be required as of 2026. And I think another thing that we're just starting to look into is just, getting more use out of our available FME licenses, since it appears to be a very, useful tool for a lot of things we need to automate. We've lost some of our knowledge in that area, and we'll need to kind of start over, train and or hire people with the expertise needed. Sorry, that was quite a mouthful, but I think that largely covers what we're doing here at KDOT. And I do appreciate the additional time necessary to get through my updates. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, James. We will move over to NG 911, and I think that's Eileen Battles.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Provide you an update on what's going on with NG 911. Never a dull moment in the NG 911 world. So as Dave had mentioned, Sherri Massey joined the DAS team really as a full-time technical support for the NG 911 Coordinating Council. So she splits her time between the technical side, getting into network engineering and circuits and all sorts of fun things there, call routing, as well as continuous supports on the GIS side. And I should also note that, of course, Will Trimble is a major key player supporting NG 911. So Will takes care of the toolbox, all the done with the toolbox and all the processes that run behind the scenes. So anytime you submit data to the 911 portal, it's aggregated and processed for all the requirements associated with 911. Will runs all those processes and does all the development there and does a great job supporting our PSAP. So really Sherri and Will are the primaries there. Ken and I support and help with development and things as needed. And then of course, Dave's our backup on that as well. So really have a good solid team doing 911 work under the DASK umbrella. So with that, we of course, like I mentioned, validate and process all the 911 data submissions. We also host quite a few services associated with that. So as well as geolocator services. So that all those services are actually pulled into your local 911 center in a product called Radius, which is the call handling mapping software. So the data that's submitted through the portal is validated, processed, and actually appears as services in this Radius call handling map product. So it's kind of neat to see, the data come through from authoritative sources, get validated, and then actually get pushed out to dispatchers across the state to handle 911 calls. And it's a great feedback loop because dispatchers, if they see something wrong with the map or an address missing, they're now reporting that information. So shout out to all of our maintainers who continue to provide updates, and we continue to have 100% participation across the state with getting those data updates every quarter. So thank you for your efforts on that. Let's see here if it keeps going down. So for products, one of the other things that DAS develops in-house with the help of Kelly Emmons, which you probably know her too, our application developer, is the 911 Coordinating Council web portal. So this is really grown to be quite a content management tool for this project. We first proposed putting this together just because way back in 2015, we didn't have a way to receive these data submissions and to process them for validation. So once we were moving into maintenance mode for the 911 project. So that's kind of where it started, but it's turned into this huge content management tool of it's how we do major communications to 911. So whether it's a PSAP administrator or a GIS audience, it's a way that PSAP reports and finances are reported through the portal. It's a way that now Sherri and the other staff are starting to track local or telco contacts, as well as all the intricate details that you need to know about PSAPs and that contact information. So there's a lot of information and reports that are generated from the portal. So it's just, so for the GIS side of things, it's mostly for submitting your data, but just so you know, behind the scenes, there's a lot of things that support the 911 program that happens through the portal. Thanks to the 911 Coordinating Council, we've been able to enjoy a 3-year imagery refresh cycle. We will be collecting imagery again in 2024, and Surdix will again be our vendor for that. It'll be the same resolution and flight details, so plan on leaf off, 1 foot resolution statewide. Don't know the exact flight details, or working out all those right now, but I assume that we'll probably be getting planes up in the air sometime in February or March of next year. So excited to get a whole new set of statewide imagery out and publicly available for anyone to use. We also host quarterly NG911 GIS user group webinars, and that's basically Sherri, Will, and I going through and giving updates on any of our different components of the project that we think are important for the GIS user community to know about. And I think I've posted those on the Hub website. So even if you're kind of curious, there's no secret sauce about that. So if you want to join those, you're welcome to join those. And then of course, Sherri leads our efforts in training, leading the training classes for the GIS data maintainers and data stewards for the 911 project. So what else is going on besides all of that? Right now, the buzzwords in 911 is footprints and indoor mapping. And so we're trying to, keep our finger on the pulse of that to find out how all the industry software packages are going to integrate this data and be able to handle these readings and what they can and can't do, and to do it efficiently. So we're not giving more information that is needed to telecommunicators, but just the right amount and just the right way. So we're really looking into that, watching kind of what's going on nationally, as well as kind of playing with data and trying to see what we can do here internally with that as well. Sherri is part of the NINA Standards Committee group, so she's working on updating the Kansas NG911 GIS data model to align with the NINA standards, the recent updates to that. So look for an update to the data model coming probably later this year. I'm sure we'll have a lot more information about that at CAM. I don't see any, it's a lot of things that just need to be edited and updated, but I don't see any major overhaul to the data model or how it operates at this time. We continue to work with all the different vendor partners, which there are many with the 911 project, whether it's submitting data to support geospatial call routing, or it's providing feedback for the call handling hosted solutions mapping software. We're actually currently evaluating a version upgrade and providing feedback or reporting bugs and things like that. So we're really quite integrated into the whole process of anything that's going to change that affects the map or something the dispatchers see on the map. We're involved and we provide feedback for that. So with that, I think, is that it for 911, Dave?
All right. Thank you, Eileen, for that update. Our next presenter, Wildlife and Parks. Do we have Justin Jones on the line?
I'm here.
All right, Justin, have at it.
All right. I'm Justin and have a cohort, Dana. We are the GIS department here at Wildlife and Parks. We're housed in the Wildlife Division. We help, we provide geospatial support across divisions throughout the agency. I work, directly for the state, and Dana's position is funded by a federal grant. Pittman Roberts. It's 11% excise tax on firearms, ammunition, and archery equipment that's distributed to state governments for wildlife-related projects. Our agency has 460 full-time employees, probably around 60 desktop users, and a decent ArcGIS online presence. We do a lot of data collection in Survey 123. We collect game species population data to help monitor and analyze, population trends on all the different game species. We have a deer survey, a pheasant crow survey, quail whistle count survey, breed surveys, aerial pronghorn surveys, prairie chicken surveys. And right now we're using Survey 123 for all of these. Some of our products, probably our most popular product is our hunting atlas. It's really popular among our constituents and non-resident hunters. On our hunting atlas, we provide, different game management layers, so you can see where and where you can't hunt across the state for certain game species. That's where we provide our WEHA access, which is private land that our wildlife biologists lease for hunting access. We have over 1 million acres in that program, so in a state where there isn't much available public land, that becomes a really important access tool for anglers and hunters. We provide our public land access on the atlas that shows where you can and can't hunt on KDWP owned and managed lands. The fishing atlas is a similar product that we provide. It's where you can fish. We also have a similar program where we lease out ponds from private landowners to provide access to anglers. It's where we show the community lakes we manage. So you may see some what we call CFAP lakes that are in community fisheries assistant programs, and we make sure we put those on the atlas as well as habitat points where biologists will go out and drop some fish structures or fish habitat, fish congregation stations, whether it's like brush piles or artificial PVC structures that congregate fish. So when people are out on the lake, they aren't just in a aimless wandering, they have somewhere to go fish and figure out different spots. And Dana's on the call, and she has some other products to talk about that we provide, some public facing stuff that we provide. Dana, if you're on the call.
Yes, thanks, Justin. So maybe many of you are aware of the Kansas Natural Resource Planner. We maintain that at KBS, and we integrate a whole suite of data that's coming from multiple agencies and other entities. We combine a lot of species of concern data that we get from a variety of sources, including the Mammal Atlas, the Kansas Natural Heritage Program. So we integrate that all into one web mapping application, and have recently updated it and migrated it to the newer platform. We also have recently worked on a land cover project that was a collaboration between the Nebraska, Kansas wildlife agencies, and with a kind of the Kansas Applied Remote Sensing Program equivalent in Missouri called the Missouri Resource Assessment Partnership, where they mapped 49 different ecological system types in Kansas and Nebraska. They have completed these types of mapping projects for Oklahoma and Texas as well, and I think they're currently working on Arkansas. So really focusing on natural vegetation landscapes and also rural landscapes where we have the messy landscapes of woody encroachment happening across the state. And so a lot of botanists were involved collecting field data. These dots on the screen right here, these red dots are all the locations we visited. KBS staff across the state that provided input to the machine learning models to model the landscapes. And they integrated not just remote sensing data from satellite imagery from Sentinel data, which has a spatial resolution of 10 meters, but they also integrated soils information and did a lot of correction to the Surgo for the state of Kansas prior to using it, and also integrated topography information, slope and aspect, and kind of created models that of geophysical settings, I guess, or land associations. So we created a story map and a web mapping application around this product that's public facing, trying to not only get people to use this data, but also to educate the public. That this you can find along with the Natural Resource Planner on the CARS website. And so that's all I've got.
Some of our major initiatives are to improve and implement geodatabase management and streamlined workflows cross divisions within the agency. Kind of like James, who talked to a few agencies back, said, you know, there's some rogue people out there who are doing different things, you know, providing products that aren't, you know, in a GIS, and we're just trying to rein that in a little bit, and unify some databases so we can, you know, provide better access to constituents and, you know, just maintain better geospatial records across agency. We want to continue to grow our ArcGIS Online presence, transitioning some of our static fisheries and wildlife data into more interactive and dynamic web maps, applications, and dashboards. Right now, Dana and I are working on a project that's looking to improve field data collection workflows for our wildlife and fisheries biologists, who I mentioned earlier, sign up private hunting and fishing access. And some of those wildlife biologists are, you know, coordinating and implementing programs to improve wildlife habitat across the landscape. And, you know, if we can find a way to add that spatial component to it, so we're, you know, keeping good records on that kind of stuff, we're going to try to do that. And yeah, those are our big kind of goals and projects for the future. So that's all I got.
All right, thank you, Justin and Dana. Great update. For our last agency, Kansas Forest Service, which is a new agency since we first did this back at CAM in October last year, we're going to come back to Katie Goff to provide that agency update.
Yeah, thanks. So Darci Paull with the Forest Service had a conflict today, so she couldn't join us. So I will just run through quickly. The Kansas Forest Service has 35 full-time staff members. They utilize quite a few students and 2 part-time staff. So I know Darci is their main full-time staff GIS person, and they have 1 student GIS technician. So it looks like they have 18 ArcPro and ArcMap users, and then 20 Field Explorer and Survey 123 users. So for their products, they have 15 data layers that are available through the Kansas GeoPortal Hub. And most of their layers can be found on the linked web app viewer. So I clicked on that this morning, and it's really helpful. They've got everything pretty handy in that web app. So they also have their Arboretum and Champion Trees web apps. So their Arboretum is a really cool site. So on their Kansas Forest Service campus in Manhattan, they actually have trees there that you can visit that kind of go through the history of some of their donated trees and trees that are specific to certain regions. So they have, I think, a kind of a history through the years, and it's a really cool site if you have a chance to visit their office in Manhattan. Some of their major initiatives, they are continuing to map windbreaks within the state, and then they're also publishing their Kansas Wildfire Risk Assessment portal. So quite a few things going on at the Forest Service. So we're sad Darci couldn't join us. But I think that is it for all of the state agencies. So I'll just thank all of us for taking time to go through all of this. And I'm sure we have maybe 1 or 2 minutes for questions.